Moss Media.
Welcome to Anything But CliShay.
Yeah, we're kind of defining a relationship on our own terms.
I would say unconventional relationship.
In every sense of the term.
It's true, I got a feeling for you.
So many dynamics that come into our relationship. Our races, our age, our economic thing. You're like basically on Social Security.
Got a good feeling for you. Got a good feeling. Got a good feeling. Got a good feeling for you.
I feel like it's important for us to maintain our independence.
You need to talk to a therapist about your
Oh.
For you. Got a good feeling. Got a good feeling.
Because at the end of the day, I mean, I love you.
Welcome, everybody, to Anything But CliShay. I'm your producer, JC, one of the producers of this great show. And I'm here to introduce you to this dynamic duo who are about to shake up the podcast playlist. This is Clifton and Shay. Let's get ready for a candid conversation, some intriguing banter, and maybe a few hot takes you won't see coming. Let's dive right in. First, Clifton, let's just get in with you. You know, what's your deal? What's your story?
Hey, JC, thanks for the question, and thanks for having us. Yeah, you know, I'm originally from the Bay Area, moved to San Diego originally in '08. I'd bounced around, you know, the country and actually lived overseas for a bit in Central America. And, you know, it's been a wild ride for me. You know, after my childhood in the Bay Area, moved to Colorado for undergrad, absolutely loved it there. Thought I was going to be a stockbroker, so studied economics and moved to New York and with my college sweetheart. And, you know, we ended up not really liking New York that much. I mean, we loved New York, the city itself, but, you know, it was just a really big challenge, just, you know, kind of getting our foothold there. As I mentioned, I wanted to be a stockbroker. We moved there in 2002. We all know what happened in 2001. So it was a challenging time to, you know, kind of kick off my career there. One day, my now ex-wife, she comes home from work and she says, you know what, fuck this. Why don't we just move to Mexico and open a juice bar on the beach? And I said, you know, that sounds great, but we're never going to retire on juice bar income. So, you know, we ended up looking for another opportunity, found our way down to Belize, lived down there for about a year, and we kind of ran this little project for a couple of years. And man, that was an adventure. Everything from having, you know, local authorities shaking us down for bribes to being told I only had 2 weeks to live. I mean, it was an adventure. And coming back, you know, to the U.S., found my way to San Diego, started studying architecture, got into real estate development. And yeah, that kind of led me to where I am now.
Well, that's funny because it sounded like the juice bar dream in Mexico sounds like something that a Bay kid would actually have a fantasy about. But I see you, Shay. Don't act like you're going to get away with it, too. We want to know what's going on with you. What's your story? What should the people know about you?
Well, unlike my co-host, I'm born and raised in New York, which I loved. I feel like it shaped me into the person that I am today. When I was 28, the pandemic happened. And I like to say that's when I found my mind instead of lost my mind, because it brought me to be here in San Diego. And I haven't left since. It's been one of the best decisions I've ever made. I come from a pretty big family, I like to say. Both my parents are immigrants. I'm one of 5, all girls. So my dad's the ultimate girl dad. I even went to college in New York, doing track and field on a collegiate scholarship, which was something that was very fundamental in my life. I would like to say I have a bubbly, funny, and empathetic personality, and thinking that I give to the world what they need more of, which is laughter, understanding, and empathy. But I'm in my 30s, and I feel like it's been a coming to age moment for me, which has all led me here.
How this all came about? What is this collective dynamic duo that I titled you all?
Yeah, you know, honestly, I have a pretty strong disdain for dating apps, but on a whim, I downloaded Hinge and created a profile. And, you know, 2 days later, I went on a date with Shay, and she almost canceled on me, which like,
Yeah.
she's like, yeah, I don't need to go out with this guy. He seems like a clown, like whatever. So luckily she saw through, our plans and we had a great first date. What was interesting though was we actually put our relationship in a bit of a time warp by going on vacation together, a little weekend getaway for our third date, right? We went up to Stagecoach.
Yeah.
And I mean, that had to be weird for you, for, some rando to be like, hey, you want to go on a 3-week or, 3-night trip with me? Only after we'd known each other, 2 weeks?
It was nerve wracking, but I kept saying to myself, you know what? I'm kind of like the spontaneous vibe. So maybe we are more connected than I think I am. So let me go on this vacation and see how it goes. It was honestly one of the best, most memorable trips I ever had. It was just so much fun though. And I've always wanted to go to Stagecoach and go to Palm Springs. So it was really nice.
Yeah, I think something that made it a little bit easier for you was a few of my friends actually crashed our second date, right? We went out for brunch and we were kind of bouncing around the beach bars and one of my friends was like, "Hey, are you guys out? Are you out?" And I was like, "Well, I'm on a date." And he's like, "Hey, we're gonna come by." I was like, "All right." So yeah, they just dropped in and those guys ended up going with us up to Stagecoach. So she had already met some of my friends. She's like, "All right, this guy isn't a complete clown."
His friends are nice, so at least if he sucks, I can hang out with them.
Right? Maybe you could trade up into one of my friends. Yeah.
So, one of the things that's funny to me is that the name of the show is Anything But CliShay, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the way you're setting this up with this second date where, your dudes, crash it and it's like, then you go out on the edge and then she's like, I can almost see it almost like a rom-com, like a cliche rom-com, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's not, right? Like anybody who can see you knows that there are probably some differences that you have, whether it's culturally. Right about now, for those who are meeting you all for the first time, they're probably unpacking a whole lot. I mean, tell me, what is the reaction that you all get when people actually learn that you're together?
I feel like for people that don't know us, they may be shocked over our age gap.
Mm-hmm.
But I think people would ask his friends separately and my friends separately, "Oh, are you shocked they're dating someone 17 years older or 17 years younger?" And I don't think either of them would be shocked at all. And it's come apparent to me, like people who spend time with us, they know like age is not a factor in our situation, which might be astonishing to some people because they're like 17 years. How does that not come up? But I feel like we like poking fun at each other.
Well, and you're mature for your age, and I'm still basically a 12-year-old mentally, right? I mean, that's kind of how we end up being able to mesh. Yeah, and, the only thing I would add to that is I think from the outside, people would sort of assume that there's a sugar daddy, sugar baby sort of vibe going on between us, but that's not the case. I mean, Shay absolutely contributes to our relationship in all kinds of ways, and it's not that the financial component doesn't play at all in our relationship.
You could be my sugar daddy.
Yeah. Oh, trust me, she would go for it if that option was on the table.
Well, here's an interesting follow up from me. Like part of it is like, okay, both of you all have gone, have been bi-coastal, right? Like both of you have been in New York,
Mm-hmm.
You've been in Colorado. Like it's been my experience that especially with interracial couples, intergenerational couples, that depending on where you are, it's just, partly that you all are based out of California. Has that played any role as you all see? Do you think that plays any role for how you all are able to, well, some might say be more liberal or more accepting or adoptive or less closed-minded? Does that have anything to do, like the fact that you've traveled, right? Like y'all aren't just from 3rd Street and,
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm not sure. I think, it is relatively clear that the coastal areas tend to be more progressive. The flyover states, they may be a little bit, behind the times in terms of their willingness to accept, a non-traditional relationship. But that's honestly, that's never presented itself to us. And, we're too green. I mean, we've been dating for about a year now, and but everywhere we go, there, we haven't really had any kind of odd, first takes or anything like that. What about you, babe?
We did in the Bahamas. Remember on the boat?
I don't. What?
This guy couldn't believe that we were dating. Like, I don't know if it was because of our age or because of our ethnicity or our race differences, but
maybe
this one guy
you gotta set the story up. Set the story up. We want to know.
I don't even remember this, but
so we're on the boat partying.
It's the right guy, right? It is the right guy, right?
Yeah. Wait, we've never been on a boat together. What are you talking? You know what? I gotta go. I've had enough of this.
Must have been my sugar daddy.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, so we're on the boat. This guy, I see him pulling Clifton over, who is having very just in his good time.
You can say not sober.
Not sober.
Yeah.
And just the question he was asking him, I'm like, what is he asking him? But I felt like people were looking at us strangely, and it wasn't the partiers, it was the crew.
Oh.
So I just like kind of eavesdrop, and I'm like, what did he ask you? Because I couldn't hear the rest of it. What did he ask you? And he was like, he couldn't believe we were dating. He's never seen an interracial couple.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Like he could not believe.
He was he Filipino? Is that right?
No, I think he was black.
Oh, was he? Okay.
Mm-hmm. No, I'm sure he was black because I was shocked. I'm like,
yeah.
You haven't just seen interracial couples. It's, 2025, but you also don't realize how much more acceptable it might be for us because it's part of our everyday culture, I would think now. Whereas in the Bahamas, it's something probably very scarcely seen unless you're, you see someone on a vacation or.
What I envision is that you're on the boat and Shay is just paying attention to everybody and you're in your good time mode versus is that is there a possibility that there's a hypersensitivity that either you may share more than the other?
That's it's sort of, I think what you're asking is, imagine that you're thinking about buying a car, right? And you hadn't really seen, pick a car, Volkswagen Bug, right? You hadn't really seen many Volkswagen Bugs on the road. And then you're thinking about getting one. And then all of a sudden you see a lot more, right? Because now it's sort of in your awareness. There is a part of me that is sort of more aware of other couples who are similar to us. Like it's almost, are you familiar with the Jeep wave, right? When when you're in a Jeep and you see another Jeep driving by, you kind of want to wave to them. When I see other,
and they give you a duck.
Yeah.
And they give you the duck.
Exactly. Yeah. And when I see other interracial couples, I'm like, do we acknowledge this? Do we not? I don't, I don't acknowledge it, but I wonder if other people are thinking the same thing. Like, so it's hard to say. But also, people looking at us, I don't really think about what their perception is of us. Ultimately, when we're out in public, I just want to, have a good time, connect with people, and be conscientious of others and respectful and all that kind of stuff, as all people should be in public. So it doesn't really occur to me how people are like perceiving us. What about you, babe?
I think we've had this conversation whether people look at us because we're an interracial.
Oh, that's a really good point. Sorry to speak over you. We have had a bit of this conversation before. I think I asked her once, when people see us, do you think that they notice our age difference more or our ethnicity difference more? Right? That's where you were going with that? Uh-huh.
And I think it's our age difference. Because for my family, most of my sisters are in interracial relationships. So dating outside of our race, whether it's black or Asian or white or yellow or green, whatever, it's just something I've been used to. Mm-hmm. And I haven't realized until I moved to San Diego and I'm like now in an interracial relationship. And I'm like, oh, this isn't so common for people to see like it is for me. Mm. Like it's part of my everyday. I mean, I have nieces that are biracial. I mean, it's just something that is so common for me. It did make me take a step back and be grateful and not take for granted how just intertwined my family is, and that it's not necessarily, we're not all the same race.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's interesting. We could definitely, I mean, that's an onion in itself, right? Like, and I think that barring the cliche, we're just scratching the surface, and it sounds like that they're going to be a wealth of different topics that you all can get into. Because if we go one off from there, then we're talking about culture, we're talking about ethnicity, we're talking about geography, we're talking about politics. That usually leads to something about religion. That leads to talks about the bedroom. What are the topics you're looking forward to tackling on Anything But CliShay, and what are the ones that you're kind of not necessarily, maybe even dreading?
Well, I'm definitely dreading talking about sex, because I feel like it's always been like in an intimate setting where I know it's just me and my girlfriends or me and my partner, knowing that I have the support I have and knowing people that I normally wouldn't talk to about it.
Like, for example,
my parents. I think anyone but my parents, because anyone but my parents heard me talk about sex or just understands how I am. I think, but I'm also excited to break that barrier down and no longer have that boundary between us, and them just understanding more of who I am as a person. I feel like I consider myself like a very like sexual being, and coming into that means like I realize I'm like a very healing person. Like I just love making people feel good, and I don't think that's a bad thing.
Oh, it's not. It is not a bad thing.
And then I would say also politics. Just because I know how sticky it can get, and also knowing how my personality is. I come from a family that is, I would say, very political. They have their views, but I was raised to just do my own thing. Don't go for the masses. I'm not necessarily worried about them. I'm worried about how my friends and just outside peers may feel once they may hear my political views. What about you?
Yeah, that's fair. I think that's actually one of the things I'm most looking forward to sharing is, we have some closing segments that we're looking forward to sharing with everyone. And one of the segments that we're going to be doing is entitled Unpopular Opinions, right? Where, we just kind of share ideas and maybe some solutions to problems that we see in the world that are not going to be popular, right? But we feel like they would be good solutions. So that's something I'm really looking forward to getting out there. As far as things I'm dreading, I'm pretty much an open book. But the one thing that I am worried about is if I share something that is tangentially related to Shay, that ends up maybe shedding, not the best light on her. So that's probably my biggest concern, is just me saying something like, oh yeah, off the cuff, not thinking about like that people will connect the dots and be like, oh, that could mean that, he's talking about Shay, and it maybe doesn't portray her in the most positive light. I'm thinking about that, but I know she is happy to share everything too. So it's mostly in my head. I just want to protect her. That's all.
What on Anything But CliShay is going to be off the table?
Honestly, we've talked about this a lot of length and nothing. And in fact, there are conversations that are, she's getting frustrated with me about this. There have been some conversations that, we want to have, or I want to have with her, that I'm like, let's save it for the podcast. And she's like, no, like, you got to be kidding me. This is something that we need to talk about right now. And I'm like, no, I want this to be on record. I want to share this with the world. And she's like, are you kidding me? This has got to be just for us. And so I think that's, maybe a sticking point. But yeah, as far as, if there's topics that we won't go into, nothing at this point. I mean, I think that's the value of this type of format, is that you can be just, naked and raw and just share everything. And I think people will really appreciate that.
Well, I mean, Shay, here's your chance then, because you wanted to talk about it right then, and he wanted to talk about it on the podcast. we're here now on the podcast. We can do it right here, right now.
He
Or we wait for you to get into the
always circles
season. One
back.
day.
Oh, we got to tease a little bit, right?
He always circles back. There's nothing I won't discuss on the podcast. I just don't want to be having conversations that might blind me on the podcast.
Oh, you mean hit you blindside?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I want to
Oh,
at least.
but see, I think that's why it'll be captivating and fun, is because you'll get to see honest, raw reaction
When it comes to certain topics.
Mm.
The only topic I've told him I wasn't willing to exploit or put out there to a certain extent, again, we need to have conversations first, is our relationship. Anything else, I'm an open book. There's no boundaries, but I'm I don't want you to be I have something to tell you on air. And then he tells me the most wildest situation. I'm okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, that's not happening.
It might.
Okay.
It might.
Well, listen, I think needless to say, I think that anyone who's listening to this right now will say that there's going to be a lot to unpack. Like I said earlier, in less than 30 minutes, we've gone from, across to the East Coast over to New York, over to California, to South America. We've touched on some sex. We've talked about Hinge. I mean, and that's just been 30 minutes. And so I can only imagine what this is going to look like, when we get to episode 10, 12, and 14. But I would want to say, when we do get there, what is one thing that each of you would want listeners to be able to say, the one thing I get out of Anything But CliShay, it's when they
entertain us. I want us to be entertaining, but also encourage people to think. I know that there can be a space where you might have a friend, a person you're in a romantic relationship with, family, coworker, acquaintance, that you can have disagreements. It can be done in a great way, in a way where it honestly encourages your thinking instead of makes you feel kind of depleted. I don't want this to be you're right, I'm wrong. It's just we have two different views. We respect each other, and we're open to have a dialogue about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. We're not worried about how many listeners we have or downloads or anything like that. What the way that we define success is whether or not we're proud of what we're putting out there. And, in that vein, what would make me proud is if we could get people to just maybe think about some things that we discuss on air, maybe they think about it from a different angle, or it just gets them to maybe do a little bit more research. Or, I think critical thinking is a lost art, in our culture. And I'd really like for people to be like, dude, what the fuck is that guy talking about? And it's oh, wait, there's no way that's true. And then they look it up and they're like, oh my God, that's true. And then they're like, wait a minute, what else am I maybe missing? Right? I think that would be really cool if that, was a result of our on-air experience.
No, I was saying entertaining, but thought-provoking.
Infotainment.
Infotainment.
Hey, this is a great place to take a break. We'll be back with more of the show right after this.
Mixed Grounds Coffee, founded in 2020, is where culture brews community. Located in San Diego's Logan Heights district, this Vietnamese-owned micro-roastery brings you the world's finest beans, roasted in small batches. Mixed Grounds is proud to present I Just Wanted to Push Record on the Olas Media Network, celebrating arts, community, and culture.
Like we talk about in the show, there are a lot that goes into a successful podcast, more than just pushing record. Whether you're new or seasoned, if you're looking for someone to make your great show idea a reality, then we've got your back. Check us out at olasmedia.com and see how we can help you push record on your next big project.
Hey, it's Daniel from Beyond the Doors. We're super excited to be a part of the Olas Media Network, recording right here in San Diego, alongside some amazing podcasts. There's a host of wonderful shows from all types of genres. Basically, like real estate, there's a little something for all walks of life. You won't want to miss it. So head over to olasmedia.com or wherever you get your podcasts. Don't forget to follow or subscribe while you're there. Now, let's get back to the show.
Got a good feeling. I got a feeling for you.
Welcome to Unpopular Opinions, one of our rotating closing segments here. And what I'd first like to talk about is AI. Is it taking over? And I'm going to say it's not. And here's why. Despite, huge improvements, really leaps and bounds over the last couple of years with regard to AI, it's still just a predictive model, right? We remember, you may not remember, Shay, because you're so young, but we remember, when predictive text first came out, right? And it, as you were typing out a text message, it would predict what the next word was going to be. That's essentially what, these large language models are right now. And one of the reasons that the, meteoric rise and development is going to slow down is because they are running out of data. What I mean is, these developers have been using the data that just is on the internet, right? If you have a web page, Sally's, secret recipes, right? They will go and scrub that website, for content, and then use it to help to train their models. Well, they've burned through all of the data that's ever been created on the internet and only gotten this far. So at this point, what's going to be really challenging for them is that because they've already released some of these models, is that we're going to have copies of copies. And so, we already are using AI to create content that's out there, right? So if, for example, we know that the quality of a copy degrades, and a copy of a copy of a copy is even worse, right? So that would imply that as, more and more content that's on the internet is essentially generated from AI, and then you're trying to train AI from that content, you're basically in a circular loop, right? So I think that the growth of AI is going to slow down significantly, and we've all been waiting for this, generative AI where it can just think on its own, right? And it could have, for a while there, it looked like it was imminent, and now it looks like it's out on the horizon again. So all that to say, AI is obviously helpful, and it's been a great, development, but it's not going to take over. The rise of the machines and the Terminator, prophecy, it's still a little ways off. We don't need to worry about it yet.
I wish I had AI when I was in college.
Oh my God. Can you imagine?
Changing.
Can you imagine? Like I was really good at plagiarizing. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I would take, content from different sources and then, reword it in my own prose. And then, of course, if I copied and pasted something, I'd go back in and put a couple grammatical errors in, or maybe misspell something. So it was like, oh yeah, this is clearly his own work, right? This wasn't something that was professional. But one of my really good friends, he said that, the college experience isn't to, learn these new skills and things like that they're actually teaching you in class. Really what it teaches you is how best to cheat, right? Because once you're in the workplace, cheating is perfectly acceptable. If you gotta cheat to get ahead or to do whatever, man, that nobody's going to be mad at you. If the share price goes up by 2% because you stole somebody else's idea, man, that's that's money in the bank. Yeah. Anyway, so that's one of my unpopular opinions. More to come.
Hey, you, what's new in your world? It's true, I got a feeling for you. I do think
Olas Media.